All right. Let me remove that little overlay there. Hey everyone, welcome. Grateful for everyone being here today. And we'll just wait as we have people arrive. And you can feel free to leave a comment as you join in. And this is really meant to be kind of like a vibe where everyone's getting together and having conscious conversation at the coffee shop, but we're going deep. The topics as we go through for this month will be around mental health and suicide because September is Suicide Awareness Month. October will be on our shadow, and we'll get into more what that is. And November will be on death. So we're just diving deep right away. I know for me, fall is always a powerful time. And so we're going to just dive right in. So I see a few people watching. I think one person for sure on the Level Up page. So feel free to comment below who you are and where you're coming in from. And then we're going to slowly just have this be something that you can pop in and out of. We'll be doing this every month. And really for me, it's just a part of, living my mission is this opportunity to bring people together in conscious conversation, because I feel this is a big part of what will help bring the world another level of peace. So we're going to start with something that I know brings me peace, which is called box breathing. And we're going to go ahead and do the box breathing right here on the screen. And I love this technique because box breathing is super effective at helping anyone calm down at any time. And so we're going to go ahead and I'm actually going to share the screen right now so that way you can see it and you'll be able to see, hey, Amanda, yay! Nice to see you, Amanda. Just put your comment there up on the screen. And I love Amanda because she really embodies being vulnerable and sharing her journey when she is doing well and even when she's having challenges. That's why I love her and love that she's here. And Amanda, I can send you the link if you want to come on video soon. I would love that. This is our first one. I just have only a handful of people maybe coming in today. We'll see as it flows. So I'll send you the link here after we do box breathing if you'd like to come on video and you can help start the conversation strong with suicide and mental health. We're going deep. So here we are going to start with the box breathing now. And this is just a 2.5 minute process here. Double check you guys can hear everything. All right, with this box breathing, we're simply breathing in as the cursor goes across the top of the box, holding that breath as it goes down. And then we are breathing out as it goes on the bottom of the box, holding as it goes up. So with this technique, we're allowing ourselves to drop into which is Convo. So I'm going to go ahead and do it myself. So I'm holding that breath, breathing in, hold before breathing in, and now breathe in. And hold while you have that breath in your lungs. Breathe out slowly. Hold before breathing in. Breathe in. deeply, breathe out. And hold that breath in. Breathe out through your nose or mouth. Hold before breathing. Breathe in. Hold. And continuing your breath. Thanks, Amanda. Yeah, I'm so glad that you like this box breathing. We're actually going to do it one more time. So keep going. Whoever's joining in now, just jump right in with this breath. We're simply breathing as the thought was around the top, holding. And this is such a great way to do this many times a day. So jump right in. I can send you this video. I love this video right here. Just very simple. Just do it one more time. Breathing in for 4 seconds. Hold just for 4 seconds of breath in the lungs. Breathe out for 4 seconds. Hold before breathing in. Just breathe in. Breathe in. Hold. And breathe out. I just skipped that part. It's okay. Just follow the screen or your breathing. So just breathing in for count 4. Holding. Out. Hold. Breathe in again. Just a few more times. Just let us stick with this. Keep breathing in. Holding. More, just a few more as we breathe slowly in, hold, out, hold, or breathing in again. All right. I love that technique so much. I remember doing it with my students, and oh gosh, it really helped. And I love already seeing engagements in the comments. And thanks, Amanda, for saying that. It's so true. Being authentic, no matter what. That's what this is all about. And no matter if there's just a handful of people here or a lot of people here, as we do this every month, every first Monday, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Mountain Time. We are co-creating a world where we are able to listen to each other, no matter if we have the same perspectives or not, and truly see that that is what can bring a lot of healing in the world. So I'm going to go ahead and put a few comments or a few questions on the screen for people who want to engage with the comments throughout the video. And this will allow you, no matter if you want to come on video or voice, which is an option today, I'll put that link on the screen later, and send it to people who I know are here and engaging, and who want to come on. But I'll go ahead and say them out loud first before putting them on the screen. But if you are here today, whether you saw what the title of today's talk of conscious conversation, informal conscious conversation was, why did you click? Why did you choose to come here? Why are you here right now? Even if you're just going to pop on for a few minutes, which I totally honor, of just being here for that moment, coming back and watching the recording or parts of it. Why are you showing up? What was it about conscious conversation that really brought, why do I want to be here? Recently, I was interviewed on a podcast called Clean Your Effing House Be. Won't say the full words here, but it's a really great podcast. Check them out online. And I told them about conscious conversation and what now I've been doing now for about 4 years in the community and online, whether we lead these in person or online. And they're like, I like that phrase, conscious conversation. And I know for me, it was a book that I found. Comment if you've ever read these books by James Redfield, The Celestine Prophecy, and all of the series. There's a whole series of books that come after The Celestine Prophecy. There's also a movie that's pretty good. And they bring up this concept of conscious conversation and how it's going to bring a lot of change and transformation to the world as we bring conscious conversation, where someone might share something and you're like, oh my gosh, I disagree. But you're able to breathe, just like we did the box breathing moments ago, and say, I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm willing to lean in and listen. And I'm willing to have conscious conversation, or consciously say, I think we're consciously going to end the conversation. That's okay too. But to do that in a peaceful way. So for those of you who are on, comment and tell me why you are here today. And also, if you were here for the box breathing a few moments ago, tell us how that went. So today's topic is on suicide and mental health. And I'm just going to go ahead and put some comments that are already coming in from others on the screen, like from Nanette, who's actually my mom. Co-create with community, a new earth based on higher frequencies, removing traumas and programs is a big part of this. Definitely resonate with that. And I'm putting this word in the right up on the screen because today's September 1st, the first day of Suicide Awareness or Suicide Prevention Month. I like to call it Life Celebration Month as well, as another positive perspective of that. So when you think of that word, what are the things that come to your mind? I'll share some of mine while people share some of their comments of, what does that word bring up for you? I know for me, I have a lot of personal connection to that, the word suicide itself. And if you look at the root word of that, just like homicide, other sides, side is like to kill. And then the first part of the word is referring to what is killed. And so in this situation, that word, it is the killing of self. And so I know when I started learning this word as a young kid, which I'm very present to now as I appropriately start to teach this to my son to help him understand what happened to his first and biological dad, I'm finding that, it's brings up a lot of like those feelings in myself where I felt like just to put it straight, I've been through hard times before where I had just gotten in a fight and driving, and I'm like, I could just crash this car right now. So when I think of that word, it brings up those times in me where I felt that. So if anyone can resonate, feel free to comment below. I see Catalina here commenting. She's here because she's blessed to be invited to hear. And yeah, you can hear the baby. He's like right here below the camera level. I've been doing that lately for meetings. He's right here eating, and so when he's done eating, I'll totally let everyone see him. So thanks so much, Catalina, for being here. Yeah, and I'm going to send the link out soon for people who want to come on video. I would love that, so it's not just me. I love what Amanda is saying here. I love and also have a lot of sadness for it, but it's powerful that she's sharing it. I've had over 10 people commit suicide, and I think it's a choice, and it's okay to choose if they want it. Thank you for saying that. I just made a post last night about that, about the acceptance and honoring of the choice, because there's a lot of perspectives out there of like, they were cowards for doing it, or whatever other perspectives that are a little more negative. And I've never resonated with that, even before I had really had anyone in my realm commit suicide or choose to exit by suicide, choose to exit Earth. There's all these different ways to say it. And I really love that Amanda is saying this, because essentially, if we look at it from a higher perspective, and I'm going to step into my belief here. This is my belief. This is something we do in conscious conversation. We try to make it clear when something is our belief, not something that we view as truth. And ideally, we kind of just try to frame everything as, hey, this is my truth, my belief, not ultimate truth. Because ultimately, we don't really know. That's my perspective. So this is me stepping into my belief from a spiritual perspective, that sometimes when that happens, and even there's a perspective from the Seth teachings, SETH, that I learned from Tiana Galgano, of like, if the act occurs, if suicide occurs, then that was the path that the soul took. I personally believe that there are some like times where things do go off of plan, so to speak, but we'll just take it from a very direct perspective of, sometimes like when that occurs, that was what was of highest and best for that soul, which is really hard to say because at the same time, like I posted last night, I'm also standing for a world where we help people choose life. So it's like yin and yang, finding both of those perspectives and being able to honor both. Amanda, if you're still watching, I am actually texting you directly the link if you'd like to join. You can join from your phone, from a browser, or there's a StreamYard app, or from a computer. I would love to have you on because I feel like you have a lot of powerful things to say. And I love that we are engaging in this. And yay, Catalina, I'm glad that I think Isis is watching with you, your daughter Isis. And I'm just going to put some of these comments and catch up here. I agree with the perspective that God doesn't judge and they still get to go to a level of heaven. I love that perspective. It's like at this point in this body, we may not know, but once maybe we die and we return, we will know, or we can just trust in our knowing now. I love what Nanette's saying here is that we need to not be afraid to talk about events like what happened in Minnesota recently, including suicide. We can go to the soul level to go deeper and understand, yes, it's a choice as a soul, and we can continue to learn after this. Wow, that is amazing. There's so much there to unpack that I guess I'll just jump into because my mom knows my story and she's part of the story. When my son's first father chose to exit Earth by suicide, I was already aware and knew that he was struggling, and so I had already kind of played through it so many times in my mind because I had been worried that it would happen for years, that despite it, was still devastated and still have moments of feeling that devastation, but had come to a level of acceptance that he would be okay, that his spirit would be okay, that in a weird, sad way, that for him to be able to restart in a spiritual way, maybe, if he chose that, it's his choice, not mine, may be a possible path. I don't even want to say the best because that makes it seem like I'm advocating for that, but it was a possible path. And yay, I see Sonia, thanks for being here. I'm glad that you got here. And now I'm going to go ahead and bring Amanda on, and everyone else, please continue to put your comments and what comes up for you. And I'm actually going to put this as a question. What comes up for you when you hear the word suicide? And I'm going to put that up on the screen for everyone to consider. And this will be where we can engage a little bit. So I'm going to bring Amanda on the screen. All right, Amanda, you're here. I am so glad you're here. First, feel free to just tell us about yourself. This is a conscious conversation, everyone, so you are welcome to come on video too. I'll put up the link shortly if people want to come on video. So I see Amanda, she's got the sunshine behind her. How are you today?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, cool. Doing good. Just riding the energy waves. They're crazy lately.
Absolutely. I love that what you said in comments. Let's just go straight there of like, if you'd like to share like what experiences you've had specifically, since today's topic is mental health and suicide. What's there for you? What comes up for you? Just feel free to openly share.
So the first thing that is really coming up for me is something I think that we're not educated around, is something called ACEs, and they're adverse childhood experiences. And typically when you are born into, like, some people might have one or two adverse childhood experiences, but some people are just born into it constantly. It never stops from birth in the womb to the rest of their life. It's never a support system. It's hatred and anger and poverty and all of these things. And I'm really not like versed in the science of it, and you could research ACEs. It's something that they use in psychology, I think, and mental health for kids. But from my understanding is the way that God works is like God is the sun, God is source, like the energy we plug into. And when you have these adverse experiences, you start to pinch yourself off from this connection, and it gets dark. And this mental health, there's these highways in our mind, these neurons that fire together and wired together. And when you have adverse childhood experiences, they wire backwards, so to speak, creates ADD, borderline personality disorder, all these things. Like I was diagnosed with, um, what was it called? Not borderline, but a different one, BPD or something. And basically, it's just that you have abandonment issues. And so I think your mind tries to plug in other things that you missed as a child, because children need love to grow. Babies in the hospital, they need physical touch. There's actually nurses that hold them, because that love is so important for development. And so if you don't have that, which a lot of people don't, and I think that's kind of like the root of the homelessness and suicide and all these things, you're not, you don't have a way to figure it out because you've never known love. So how do you give that to yourself? Because you feel like if the people closest to you can't love you, how can you just create that out of nowhere? And it's possible, but it's a long road. And I think basically you just pinching yourself off from source so much, it gets so dark, and you create these other neural pathways that maybe aren't really the truth, but it's true for you. And you go down, you keep creating those pathways, that's the only outlet is suicide. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense, and that really resonates with becoming aware. And I'm so grateful for science in that way, which can kind of merge along with the spiritual concepts that you brought up, like merging science and spirit, of these ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, being able to be like, wow, like you can't, oh, just get over it, like, oh no, there was, your brain actually changed, something happened. And in my situation, I'm so grateful that my biggest traumas came later in adult life, and even late adult life, mid, like, or my mid 20s, let's say, when my first marriage became abusive, and then to his suicide. It came later, and my parents, my mom, who's on right now too, gave me the gift of, other than family deaths, which were still traumatic, but not, in a way that hurt me long term. Other than that, I had a relatively low trauma life. So then it kind of prepared me to be able to one, help others, which I think is part of my mission, and I'm so grateful for my parents in that, but also just be able to face some of the trauma that came later in life in a more resilient way, with tools already in my pocket, with breath work, meditation, journaling, knowing counseling is an option. So let's actually pivot and talk about that, because I brought it up. I want if anyone pops on and off even for a moment, I want everyone who comes on to get a little something. And one thing I wanted to make sure to bring up is that I love counseling, and I love all forms of it. There's kind of the more traditional kinds. There's also the, like Amanda has brought up, if it's going to resonate with your path more, there's also lots of people who practice different spiritual teachings, whether it's shamanic journeying, past life regression, stuff that's going pretty deep in that realm, which I obviously am love to. But I personally benefited so much from just kind of the basic therapist, counselor approach, where someone who was trained to listen just was my dedicated space to listen to once a week. And that helped me so much through different times in my life, even long before the trauma I mentioned recently. And then, of course, since that. So I'd love to see if anyone feels open to share. And Amanda, since you're on, I'd love to hear. Have you ever done counseling? If not, is that something you've been open to do? What has worked? What hasn't worked? Just kind of totally open. What about you, Amanda?
So first, I just want to recognize, that because you're a mom that had to go through the suicide, and I think your trauma will, there's layers of it and levels of it, and you have to feel that because you feel that for your child. And so you're going through trauma twice almost, because and then having to watch him grow up and feel that. And, I'm sure it's hard. So I just want to recognize
Thank
that
you
for you.
for saying that. Before we jump into this question, I love how you said that, because that really strikes a chord in me. That is totally how it is right now with him becoming 6.5, almost 7 soon. And he's totally smart and aware. And so being there and holding space for him, some of you who follow me online, I share the journey, and I've found appropriate ways to share things with him without ever being dishonest, just telling him in a way like his brain was sick. And then now I just recently actually taught him what the word suicide was, and not in this like weighted, heavy way. I just told it to him. He received it, and he was ready to go play 5 minutes after that. So I didn't like try to keep holding the conversation, but it felt like the right time. And I explained, yeah, like that's something he did to himself because his brain was so sick and he was so sad. He also missed his dad, who had just died not too long before. And I just put it straightforward. And this is something I'm actually compiling in a book to help with other people going through similar situations. And it really is a beautiful slash brutal, a word from my sister-in-law Krista, beautiful and brutal put together, a brutal opportunity to like revisit the grief. And I personally am a proponent of like honoring grief and like even consciously grieving. That's what September always is for me, because September 6th 2020 is when he died. And being able to consciously be like, hey, I'm going to set aside 30 minutes now, sit with a candle and think about that. And I just posted something recently on that and allowed only a couple tears came out, because it's become much more like, I'm much more like accepting of it, and almost in this weird way have it like it's a part of who I am, and I love it in this really bittersweet way. But revisited those moments when it was just devastating and I was to the ground crying and just found out, or a week later or a year later, and it was still hard. And knowing that I still might have ebbs and flows, I might feel strong right now like I do, and then a day from now, a week from now, I could feel like sad about it again, and honoring that. And the same for my son, letting him have what I call like that experience or circular emotions where it can just ebb and flow. So thank you for acknowledging that. Yeah, the waves. Yeah, and so like speaking of that, I mean, counseling was a huge part of me getting through that. Right now, I'm not in weekly counseling, but I was until very recently before moving, and I'm looking at getting back into it. I personally love telehealth now. I know that's not for everyone, but for me, it has been amazing because I can literally be doing mom stuff until the last minute, hand the kids off, whatever I need to do. I've even had my kids nearby as long as the counselor was okay with that, and I was fine with them hearing. And on my phone, on my laptop, it's like no excuse. I could show up. So I'd love to hear anyone online watching, or from Amanda, anyone else who wants to share their comments or conscious conversation on counseling, and also any negative experiences. I'll quickly say I've had counselors that were okay, but I quickly knew they weren't for me. So I luckily had that ability to be like, hey, this is great. I don't think that we're fit, and just ended the counseling relationship and quickly found someone else. So I'd love to hear all perspectives of that. What about you, Amanda? Has that ever been something that you've had experiences with?
Yeah, I have a ton of information on that. But one thing, I just want to say two things. I did know Clint, and I did talk to him that week before that happened. If you remember, we were kind of back and forth, but I mean, he was a friend of mine too, and so I understand when
So you had a grief too then too, because he was your friend.
I mean, I'm weird about death. I'm a Scorpio. I don't really believe in it. I think that they're still here. Their body's gone. So I don't like. I hate to feel like maybe it's my borderline or whatever, like where I just am kind of numb. But I also just think like it doesn't make me sad when people die, and I hate to say that, but
actually, I just want to say, just recently, I had a dream that I've had similarly, where Clint was there and I was talking to him and I was like, "You're alive again?" But I wasn't lucid in the dream, so it wasn't until I woke up. I was like, "Oh, yeah, he is alive. It's just not his body." And I've had that dream. So I think you're absolutely right, personally, for my belief.
And then I do want to say, you know, the whole thing with conscious conversation, the power in the way, like, just being honest with your, like, the way my daughter's 18 and I raised her, like, I never talked to her like a baby. I talked to her like a person her whole life. And she's just amazing and brilliant. And I just believe in that conscious conversation with your children and being real with them and honest and giving him those tools at a young age. That's what's going to change the world, you know? And so it's just a beautiful thing. But I will say about therapy, I've probably been to over 15 different therapists. I've had a long line since I was 19. I'm going to be 39 this year. So, and like see them every 2 weeks. Sometimes I would skip a year because, to be honest with you, it's very hard for me to go to somebody and have them help me when I know that they haven't been through half the things I have. And so how are they going to help me when they've had, to me, an easy life? Like, you had both parents, you went to college, you got a degree, now you're a counselor. Like, to me, you're not versed, and I am a little upset with that whole world because I've had so many bad therapists that just seem to be there for a paycheck and never did any self-help for themselves. Like, I would ask them, what do you do? Like, how, what, you know? And uh, from my position, I'm on Medicaid. Like, I'm low income, so I get the therapists who are kind of the bottom of the barrel because they're learning. Like, this might just be a perspective, and I do have a good one now. So, but also, I think that when you're like the low income field of therapists, like, they are just starting out. They're there to get experience. You know, you have to get experience somewhere. So they're not the top, like the most experienced $150 an hour therapist. You go in, they say, okay, what do you want your treatment plan to be? And it's like, I'm here for you to help me, but I'm here having to create my own treatment plan. I'm like, I don't know, drink some water, like, what? I can plan my goals. My problem is I can't get through them, and I need somebody to talk to because I have no support system. And I don't know, it just wasn't a good experience. But I will say that I do believe everything is a mirror. And so, like, you know, I'm different from when I was 19 to 39. I've done my own inner healing. Like, we've had tons of healers along the way, learned everything under the sun, and you obviously grow, and that's ascension while you're changing your mind patterns. But at 19, from till I was 29 probably, I mean, there were so many wounds that I believe you have to kind of be strong when you're going through finding a good therapist, because a lot of the time they're going to mirror what's going on within you. And so, like, if you don't have a support system and everybody in your family is hateful to you, you're going to find a therapist that mirrors that. And it's not that the therapist is bad, it's just that they're bringing out that shadow. That's just the mirror effect, and that's just how it works. But as you go and as you keep trying, and that's the thing I think most of us don't realize, is that you have to be able to be aware, like, have an emotional quotient. Like, you can be smart, but if you can't sit and ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Is this helpful? Is this healthy for my brain? Is this what love would do? And constantly have that inner dialogue with yourself, which people with an unhealthy brain don't typically have that. So it's this constant, never ending, like, internal dialogue and battle, like, between your soul and your ego. Like, who's talking? Which way? Like, is this right? Is this wrong? And, like, you really
On that
are.
note, what do you look for, Amanda, just to help people out there listening, and other people online? Feel free to comment if it resonates, if it relates to you. What do you look for in a good counselor? You said you have someone who's pretty good now. Can you tell us about, like, what's good about them for you?
Actually, she was good enough because I was honest with my doubt in therapy. And so I was honest about how I really felt about the whole situation, because people are human. They're going to be humans, and humans are imperfect. That's just how it is. And so I was honest with her. Like, I don't feel like anybody could help me, because how can you if you haven't been through what I have? But she had kind of been through similar things. And so she had shared her story with me, which helped. But most of it was that she was like, well, if you don't want therapy, that's okay. But they're offering Acu Detox now, which I'm huge on energy and Chinese medicine, which Acu Detox moves energy on its own. It helps with trauma, addiction, overeating, anxiety, even fertility, just putting those needles in your ears. And so I honestly just go for that. And then we start to talk, and then it just happened to be that finally I found one that, you know, she's more into energy. She talks about empath, and sometimes I feel like I'm helping her because she'll start to talk about like energy and ask me questions. But I really believe in the Oracle detox. I think everybody should have it. You don't really have to have somebody that's good at talking. It releases energy on its own, and it's offered in the Medicaid community now.
And that's, oh my gosh, I love that. So you said you're talking about the Acu Detox, right? The oh my gosh, if you're afraid of needles, I understand, but it is only a prick, and it's cool because your ear is actually like a mini body, and so when they place, and your same thing with your feet and your hands, and so you're able to actually pinpoint different areas. So you actually get a physical release too, and you want to drink a lot of water after. And so I love that you brought that up. So Acu Detox for sure. And I love that you said that she almost gets help from you, because to me, that brings up with this whole concept of what conscious conversation is for me, is that it's a circle. It's that we're all equal. I'm sure I am facilitating. I send out the reminders and all that because there is that aspect of someone who's the initiator. But at the same time, we're all just benefiting equally. You're both mentors to each other. And yes, in that situation, she's this role and you're this role, but that makes it so much more wholesome when someone's like, oh, wow. And that's what I loved about my most recent counselor. His name was John. My friend Stephanie actually connected me to him. I'd still be with him, and if I hadn't just moved states, so I can't be on his insurance anymore for with his providing anymore. But he would say that every time at the end of every session, he'd say, you are, remember that you're so beautiful and wise and smart. Like he would just like load me up with affirmations.
That's so
and I'd
important.
be like, oh, thank you. And then he'd say, and gosh, today I really received this from you. And he'll say something specific that you really helped me see this in another way because I'm healing with my daughter. And he would share about himself. So that's what I look for in a good counselor, like you were saying earlier, someone who's doing the work themselves. If you can tell they're not right away, then just, I wouldn't say run away, politely say, I don't think this is going to be for me, which I've done before. So if anyone in the comments wants to say if they've ever done counseling, if they will feel called and brave to share what that was like for you and any experiences with that. And I did want to also bring up a comment, Amanda, that my mom had said to you specifically, going back to our comment about death. She said your awareness about not being too sad about death is a sign of advanced awareness, and thank you. So that was from my mom to you. I love that. It really is. It helps. It's not that we shouldn't be. We shouldn't or shouldn't be anything. It's really our own individual experience. But also, if you don't feel immense sadness, it's this beautiful opportunity to be like, well, it's because I know they're not really gone in the overall sense. It's just that they're not here in a physical body on Earth. But yeah, Amanda, what are some? I want this to be more of like an organic conversation. I did throw out some questions. So what do you want to talk about today in this realm? But also, it could kind of diverge out.
I'm ready. Okay, so I really want to touch base on, a lot of people say enlightenment or love is the highest vibration, but I've heard recently that authenticity is the highest vibration, which is, being able to feel all the feelings. It's not just spiritual bypassing and everything's love and light. Like everything is at its core the energy of love, but I think that there's different frequencies because we're still purifying, like where Earth is a school and it's not pure yet, otherwise we would have peace on Earth. And I believe as we heal, the world heals. Like you don't have to go heal the world, but heal yourself, and it shines that light, like we learned with David Hawkins. Like one who's in alignment uplifts thousands of people around them just by being, and you don't really have to go seek it out, you know. And that's kind of what Jesus did. He just was himself, and he didn't see people as weak or needed healing. He saw them as perfect, whole, and complete, and that manifested that. But so what I really want to say is, like, recently I have had a lot of my own, and I recognize that it's my emotion because I'm having to go through it. But I also think as empathetic beings, we can feel other people's stuff, and most people aren't willing to feel their feelings because you got to feel it to heal it, right? So most people, they won't sit with their feelings. They push them down. They wonder why they're getting sick and all of these things. And so, but those feelings have to be transmuted. So people who are more sensitive and aware have to take those feelings on. And so, like, me personally, I often feel very heavy, especially during times like this, like, and just a lot of sadness, and I'm having to shift through a lot of stuff. But it doesn't always have to be mine. It's not that I'm just like this dark person, but sometimes your mind tells you you are, you know, because why am I constantly going through this? But I think that we have to be aware that, like, we're here to transmute some of this stuff so we can have a lighter world, you know.
Oh my
And
gosh. I just want to
so
reflect because
yeah.
I caught them in a little banner for the screen. On the stream, you'll if you were on there, Amanda, you'd see I'm putting a lot of what you're saying
Oh,
on a banner on the screen.
oh, cool.
Authenticity is the highest vibration. I feel like that's a quote. Maybe someone's already said
Yeah,
that.
I didn't say it.
Okay,
I
cool.
believe
But
it.
still, I mean, it's all from one, right? But
Yeah.
authenticity is the highest vibration. I think I'm gonna like print that seriously because
Yeah.
I love that because when people say like love and light and all this, which is true, like love ultimately, like anytime I've had experiences with deep prayer meditation and then sometimes with plant medicines, but you don't necessarily need the plant medicines to have the experience, but I'll come back to that truth of like, oh my gosh, it's all love. But authenticity, when we're in this human world and we're interacting and having to do all these things and we're going through the contrast, I love that because ultimately that is the key. Like I've been working on not being fake to strangers. That's because sometimes that's when I put on my like,
Mm-hmm.
but
Your
now
office
I've
voice.
been working on just being authentic with strangers. And even when people like bring up things like certain football things that I might not be aware of, I'm like, yeah, actually, I don't know about that, but tell me. Instead
Yeah.
of being like, oh, yeah, I saw the game, which
Oh.
is what I used to do. And now I'm
Yeah.
like, tell me. And then they get to be excited and tell me. And then I'm authentic. And it feels so
Now
much
you
better.
learn.
And then
Now you
something
know.
else you said about transmuting through feelings and knowing when it's yours and not yours and listening to your feelings. So, what are like some things that you do? I know for me, it's getting out and doing movement. But what are some things that you do for embodying those things you shared around authenticity, being the highest vibration, and transmuting feelings?
Uh, So first, I want to share something with you that popped in my head from a while
Sure.
ago, and I think you'll appreciate this. You know, often I think everybody will resonate with. I get the most information when I'm touching water, when I'm in the shower, or because water's a conduit, right? And so there's this time, like I have the sun that shines in my bathroom, and a lot of the time, like I just go within. I close my eyes because you can see more when your eyes are closed, honestly, and so there was this time, you know, because I'm often going through this, and it's just sitting with yourself and asking, like, is this the story I want to choose for myself? Is this the way I'm going? And this is the what is this best? Like, and I didn't create this saying, but is this healthy for my brain? Is this what love would do? And I try to remember those sayings, you know. And it's a process. It's you learn as you go, and but going within and asking your inner guidance more so than seeing what's outside of you, because all of this is just regurgitated from the past. Like whatever our reality now is just from the thoughts we were thinking yesterday. So I try to remember that because I believe in that. But so I was in the shower once and I was really going through something, and I pray and I go within. I'm like, you know, God, source, whatever you want. I call it's all the same thing to me, but whatever you resonate with, I'm like, I need these answers. And then, but then I switch to thank you for giving me these answers. Thank you for showing, like, because even if I don't see it yet, that's what's creating it, is already knowing it's there, because it's all there. It's just that we have blinders up. So it was really, really cool. Like it was, and this happens to me a lot. This is going to sound crazy, but I'll come outside and I'll go into meditation, and it's the weirdest thing. It could be shadowy. And as soon as I start going, like I see this bright light coming, and it may be the sun coming through the clouds, but I can, like, you know how you can sense that there's a light through. It's the weirdest thing. So I was in the shower, and there was the sun shining through, and I believe there's a power in that sun. So I let it hit my third eye, right? And then the cloud, like, I'm like trying to see these answers through the light in my mind's eye, and it was so bright I couldn't see anything. But then this cloud came, and this darkness went over, and I could see all these pictures vividly. And so what it showed me was that you can't see everything in the light, because everything the light touches turns to light. It's too bright, and we see the most through in the darkness. Does that make sense? Without the darkness, there wouldn't be the light. So you need that darkness for it to shine through the
And
answer.
next month, the topic is going to be shadows, like even just
Awesome.
shadows like behind me, because I have a lot to say
Yeah.
about that because my kids and my baby love them. And then what they symbolize and the shadow, everything shadow. So that we can still talk about it now, but I love that you bring that up because that's what the next month topic is going to be,
Dark and
is
light.
shadows.
It's balance. I mean, that's
Yeah, we
like the
need
yin
both.
yang. Yeah. And without it, we wouldn't have life. Life is the line in the middle, the dance in the middle, but they mirror each other, and that's how we know that we're alive. Like, if we're in the light, we would just be on the other side, and we would be without a body.
Well, I love that you're saying this because I put up on the screen, what do you do when you feel off? What helps you? And telling people to comment below. But you just said the exact same thing that my friend here, to the new town I just moved in, her name's Katura. She owns a local studio, Blackbird Yoga, here in Barnesville, Oklahoma. Awesome space. And she just said almost to the T what you just said, Amanda. And when her and I were talking, we kept saying, like, oh my gosh, what you just said is what someone else just said. And so what helps
Wow.
me is having conscious conversation to realize I'm not crazy. I actually am having a similar experience, similar but different in a beautiful way to other people. And what you said about the path, we were actually talking about the biblical context. There's a verse that says something about basically walking the path carefully. And she brought up what Jordan Peterson, the speaker and author, said about, like, you have to have a foot in both worlds. And then I pulled up my shirt in the back, and I have a yin yang tattoo back here, because the yin yang is a perfect symbol of. In fact, I'll bring one up on the screen here in a moment. A yin yang is such a perfect example of, they call it the good and the bad and the good. And I actually got my husband a shirt that says that because him and I really resonate with that, the whole perspective, even though we don't declare
Me too.
or anything. And so with that, here it is right here. So the black dot on the white is actually, depends on how you think of it, which color means what to you. But for me, white would be the good, quote unquote, or the light.
The pure,
and then,
purity.
Yeah, and then the black would be the dark. So it's like there's
Shadow.
good in the bad and bad in the good. So, like, just to be straight and real, one thing I love about conscious conversation is applying it to politics, even though those are topics we want to avoid. And for me, I'm pretty overall, like, very, especially over the last few years, become very neutral with all that, because I've realized no matter which person you're gonna support or not, or which bill you're gonna support, there's gonna be some good in the bad and bad in the good. So, like, sure, if you choose to vote, which if you don't, I totally respect, because I've not voted sometimes too. But then just, like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna vote for this person, but there's good in the bad and bad in the good. It's not like they're this just like me. There's good in the bad and bad in the good in who I am. Like, I just was talking to my husband about these like thoughts that I can have sometimes about, like, oh, just like disliking my body and things like that. Like, that's an example of good and the bad, bad and the good. And just, there's always, and even when I have judgmental thoughts about other people and strangers, and I'll just talk about them because I want to, eventually have a consciousness where I have less and less or none of those. But for now I do, and I honor the fact that I do, and there's good in the bad and bad in the good.
I would like to share something. Well, first, I want people to know that you're not supposed to have it all figured out. You're not supposed to have all the answers. That's part of the gift of life. And so for example, the reason I came here is because I want to be more supportive. Like, you told me about it, and I was like, cool, I'll be there. And just because I want to be more supportive, like, there was nothing else about that. Like, I'm just like, cool, I just want to show up for you, but the way that spirit works is, like, they basically, if you follow your highest excitement, which I got from Bashar, is a channeler, which I've been trying to do. It's like whatever is most exciting to you in the moment, which a lot of the time we're like, I don't know if martyr is the right word, but I want to do things for everybody else. But sometimes spirit, they know that about me. So they'll put people in my path that need to like take, because I'm like, oh, I'm just helping Meral, you know, but really they know that I needed to be here because I need conscious conversation, right? So you don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to follow the nudges and it will take you down these crazy roads. But I would like to shed some light on the yin yang and a different perspective. So this is kind of cool. I think you might resonate with this. So we as humans look at things linearly. We look at this yin yang and it's not three-dimensional. It's a flat picture, right? But the way they show me is that it's like they're fishes. So imagine if they're fishes and they're chasing each other's tails, and the more it spins, the more it generates. So in color theory, white and black is what creates different colors. And so the way I see it is like the faster it goes, it's almost like sacred geometry. It's actually creating a rainbow. And so when you have both of them dancing and the faster it goes, it generates like this rainbow and this like beautiful life. And I think that's what authenticity is, if that makes sense. It's not like you need to be all good and or you're all bad if you're not all good. It's that when you can marry the two and really be aware of it and be conscious and know yourself and love yourself and be yourself, you can shine this beautiful rainbow or aura, and your energy is so much more powerful. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just found something that
Yeah, there
looks,
you go.
yeah,
That's cool.
someone who made this art. But yeah, and it's so crazy. I have a baby like on top of me right now, and he fell asleep. So I'll show you in a sec because he's so cute. But otherwise, I would get up and show you this book that I was a part of. Actually, wait, I could just look it up online. It's called Circle of the One, and it's very synchronistic that you're bringing this up because they just fin- yeah. Let me just show you it
Yeah,
really quick.
but
But
that's so
it's
pretty.
literally that what you just said, and so it's the yin yang, and basically it has the. Let me just pull it up.
Because
Right,
we're here to live a full spectrum life, full spectrum of emotions, like all of the colors of the rainbow. We're not here to just be all white. We're here to have all of the taste and sound and touch and all of the experience. Like that's life. That's the beauty of
right,
life.
yeah, and so this is the project that I was a part of for Volume One. So this is the Volume Two cover,
And the
and
elements.
yeah, so they have the more of the elements in that one, and then Volume One. This is what Volume One looked like right over here, and I actually have the book like right in the next room. So it's very similar, and I actually, along with Trade On Inspires and Troy Chadwick, created this cover art and all of the art for the book. And yeah, so I love that this concept of the yin yang is coming up, getting back to um, all these different look at all these
Yeah,
different
that
ways
one.
to visualize the yin yang. I actually we have one of these things right here that spins at Level Up. Have you seen
No,
it? It's
no.
like a spinning thing. I freaking love it.
So you
Um,
can see what I'm saying. Like it's
yeah,
not flat.
yeah, and you can, and that's what's cool about yeah. So what I'd love to do really quick, since it's only 2 minutes, I have this tab pulled up so that we can do it throughout. Since Amanda's on video, I'd like to take 2 minutes to pause, and this is part of conscious conversation is taking mindful pauses, and also I believe it helps charge up energy, it helps us calm, and that way anyone
Super.
online can also join us in breath if they didn't get to join online. And so join earlier. So we're gonna take 2 minutes here, breathing in for 4 seconds, holding that breath in our lungs for 4 seconds. Breathe out for 4 seconds slowly. Hold before breathing in. And breathe in. Do your nose if possible, but if your mouth is more accessible to you, for whatever reason, do that. Holding. Breathing out. Just a minute more. Breathe in, or excuse me, hold for a moment. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold before breathing. And as we breathe together, we're actually aligning our hearts and minds. Continue to breathe in, hold, breathe breathe out, hold. So this is part of conscious conversation and co-creating practical peace on earth. As you keep breathing in and out, listening to the words, know that we're helping ripple out that possibility of people breathing together, listening together. And as we do this, we see how simple it is to create this practical peace. You keep breathing in and holding. Know that practical peace is not perfect. We still have arguments, we still have challenges. It's not all perfect seen together by the fire, but we're able to have these tools of conscious conversation and breathing together and holding, breathing out. Judgments and tensions allow us to see each other more clearly. So I appreciate you all for coming and breathing if you were able to join for that. Amanda, what are some ways I put up on the screen? What do you do when you feel off? You've already answered some of it. And what helps you? And other people, please comment below. For me, it's the breath work we just did in little bite-sized chunks. What are some things that you do that help you?
So one thing I have to say is it's scientifically proven that when you take 3 deep inhales and exhales, it slows the parasympathetic, slows the nervous system, slows the cortisol, releases the feel-good hormones. Like literally all you need to do is stop and take those deep breaths. I'm not really good at the breathing exercises. I really appreciate that because I'm working with that more. I have a notebook at least once a month, and I write down the things I want as if they were already happened. I say thank you for them constantly. I like to unwind watching movies. I like to cook. I'll step outside first thing in the morning. I've been having just some energy work, letting that light touch me, sitting outside for a moment, just having that quiet time with myself. And so there's no wrong or right way. It's just that what feels good to you, and then loving yourself enough to be disciplined to do it, because you're not going to want to do it. Like that, the old you is going to be like, no, I don't want to do this. I want to sit here and wallow. I tried something new today. Like I woke up and there was a lot of heavy energy, and just jumped on here, and I felt a lot better. That conscious conversation. Drink some water, read a little bit of a book, sit outside, do a little bit of laundry, like whatever's right for you. Like I like everything to be clean. I like to write. I like to organize my stuff, and I'll make something, I'll create something, and do whatever I want, actually.
What you said, I love that about cleaning. I'm thankfully someone having kids that, like, if it's not clean and perfect, it's gonna be okay. I can let it set aside. I'm grateful for that ability. But at the same time, when I do feel off, something that Jordan Peterson said is, go clean a drawer, go clean your room, go clear a surface, even if it's a corner of a surface. It doesn't have to be the whole surface. It's so interesting because, like you said, the mirror thing with your counselors, our external environment. So sometimes when I let my room get really messy or there's a bunch of stuff and I feel like I need a purge, I'm like, oh, this is like, I can see inside my mind right now. This is kind of
it is exactly. And it's Chinese medicine to keep things clean. Feng Shui. I mean, I believe in that 100%. I believe in everybody's views, and they're all intertwined and connected, and they're saying the same thing in different ways. So organize something, clean something, release something.
So, I see Joe's. So first, I'm going to catch up on comments because I always like to show every comment. And then I see Joe Drake just commented. So first, I want to say my mom had said, Nanette had said, very great insight a while back about authenticity. Yes, feeling the feeling to transmute and healing ourselves can co-create healing the collective. The shadow and light dance together, and the light always brings light, so the shadow can transmute, heal, and evolve. And what you said about Bashar and bringing in your greatest excitement, I might bring it up on the screen later. In my mom's book she published a little over a year ago, Nourish Your Light Body, she has a graphic she created with not just following your great excitement, but other things that she saw, including the following your great excitement. So I'm going to make a mental note to show that. And then Joseph, he's awesome. He's an amazing healer in Pueblo, Colorado. What helps me when I feel off is prayer, meditation, ceremony, fire, water, and despacho. I'd love for you to expand more on that, and specifically despacho, because I know a bit about it, that word, but can you feel free, if you're still on, Joe, what that means for you? Action, to get out of my head, cleaning is big for that. Helping others, gratitude list, getting out in nature, hiking, creating something, art, being active, connecting with others. Woo! I love that list. I'm going to leave that up for a while because it's got some gold in there.
Nuggets. I would like to say one more thing on
Yeah.
authenticity and conscious conversation, and something that's really been coming up for me is I think a lot of us are afraid to speak up, afraid to be yourself, and there is a lot of backlash because we're moving out of a world where it's not okay to disagree with people, and people need to realize that just because it's a difference of opinion, contrast isn't combat. I'm not trying to fight you, I'm just have a different perspective. And it doesn't heal anything to be defensive and angry. And I mean, and I understand, like, my I should just be nice and kind, but you know what, if you're going to throw some anger and hatred at me, I'm probably going to mirror that back to you, and I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. And but lately it's like almost seen as rude to be honest. And it's like, if I see something and I don't agree with it, and I say, hey, I think this is really cool, but I just don't agree with it, and people say that I'm bad and I'm wrong, it's like, I don't know, that's toxic culture. And what we need to do is be able to ask questions and learn more. Like, why do you see it like that? What makes you think that way? Rather than, oh, well, I see the real you and I see how you really are, and you're not a love and light. You're not a witch or whatever. You're bad and you're toxic and it's like, wow, like that's a lot of projection just because I spoke my truth. And the last thing I'll say is, like, when you do stand up, and that might happen in the world, but you are being real with yourself and you're gaining that trust with yourself, and it's more powerful than anybody's anger towards you. And so it's almost like, if you're going to be a leader in the community or whatever, like, you have to practice standing in the truth, and it's going to piss some people off. It's going to, like, that's the point. To wake people up, and like, that's none of your business. Be yourself and be kind, but say your truth. It's okay.
And that's the answer to what I put up on the screen just now of what is conscious conversation. First of all, there's no one way to do it. There's going to be different perspectives. But you're answering what I wanted to discuss next. It's like, it is being kind, but sometimes maybe you're also not kind, and that is hard for me, being a people pleaser. And I'm actually, as I am healing being that, because I realize that's actually inauthentic, and also doesn't serve anyone. But doesn't mean that I can't be a servant and be of service. Now that's what I really want to be, when sometimes I people please. But sometimes there's been times where I've had conscious conversation and I wouldn't call it kind, but I was honest to my truth. And I even said, hey, this is just my truth. And it helps me to be able to be honest and be like, this is just my truth, because I can just let it off my chest, knowing like, oh, hey, this is just my perspective. It's not ultimately the ultimate truth, but when you did this, this is how it occurred to me. It seemed dishonest or whatever I needed to say. And it's conscious conversation. Now, the kind that I like the most is like what we're doing now, where it's like kids talking about theories late at night and like, what is death? What happens when we die? Like, that's my favorite type of conscious conversation, is exploratory and imaginative. And then also healing kind, where you get to share about, oh my gosh, when this happened to me, and then you discover something while you talk to someone about, like, wow, I never thought of it that way. Like you said earlier, you experience the trauma twice in a way, because your kid is growing, and because he was a year and a half when his biological dad died. So, he has to kind of like learn everything in an appropriate way as he gets older. So I appreciated how you said that. So I got to see a layer. So now we're kind of pivoting into like, what is conscious conversation to you? If it's a new phrase, no worries. Just what does that mean when it comes up? What does that strike for you? So in the comments, feel free to put that, and I'll bring you up on the screen. And even if you choose not to leave a comment, no worries. I'm glad that you're here. I see there are people here who are listening and engaging in that way, and I appreciate that. So yeah, lastly, I'll say with conscious conversation, it's like the yin yang, it's 50-50. And so I'm healing my tendency to like have a thought and then like keep going. Sometimes my husband will say like, okay, now stop. I'm like, oh yeah, sorry. So I shall stop and open the floor for Amanda and anyone else in the comments.
What I really want to say is I believe it's more listening to understand than to respond, just to hear you. You know, of course, I want to say some things and I have all these things, but I want to really hear what you're saying and think about your perspective and not just try to, oh, well, what about this? And what, you know, really reflect each other, so to speak. And I think it's a transmission, it seems like we're kind of building that energy in a good way, in a healthy way.
Well,
And
that's
we're so different.
Yeah, well, because what if what if every conversation, even with yourself, even when you're chilling with your thoughts, you could think of it as, yep, this is just me and my thoughts, which is one perspective, and in a perspective, it's true. But maybe there's always that other presence, which is universe, source, God, all that is, that's always there with you. And for some, that can maybe be confronting. For some, that could be comforting or neutral. For me, I love it because something that came through recently, and I put it out on a post on my page as a quote from me, but really I put like, this isn't really for me. And it was that as our thoughts become closer to affirmations, and we also create more space between our thoughts, then we become closer to being godlike. So it's basically a difference of being in the gotta do, go, in the being and to be list versus to do list, and flow versus suffering, or power versus force. And that really has been a powerful reflection for me when I catch myself of like, okay, then I need to do this, and then I'm going to go do that. In the beta brainwaves, which is the fast, self-judging, gotta go fast mind, which has served us. We've needed that, and I feel as we evolve, we're moving more towards, okay, I like having my thoughts move a little slower, and I just even try to speak slower when I speak with my voice. And conscious conversation starts first with ourselves, which I just realized it this morning before getting on, because I always think of it as, yeah, I'm going to have conscious conversation with people. I'm like, oh, wait, I could have conscious conversation myself. So like, when I'm changing in front of the mirror, being like, gosh, I really don't like that pouch on my belly. And then my conscious conversation is, yeah, well, you're taking actions to do it. You're taking actions to release the extra weight. And also remember, it's been not even 4 months. Instead of like, gosh, yeah, why do you still have that? Which I don't have too much of that up until recently. I've never had too much negative body talk, but I'm actually grateful to experience it because I haven't really had it in life too much, except for one point when I was in high school and I got a little overweight. And so I've realized like it's still conscious, even when it's not like a positive experience. It just maybe not as conscious because it might be more automatic. Like, gosh, yeah, whoa, like you look like that right now, like whatever thoughts it's judging. So you can have conscious conversation with yourself and catch yourself. And that's honestly, I think, where it starts. And then it allows us to engage with others, like how I'm engaging with you, being open to your feedback more because I'm able to receive.
And I think having more understanding increases your ability to have compassion for different people. So if you didn't go through it, you wouldn't understand it. And I do really want to say, I think it was Joe Dispenza who said, once a mind is stretched in a conscious, like, once your consciousness is stretched, it can't go back to its original. So every time you're having those conscious conversations, like your mind is stretching, your energy is stretching, your aura, your energetic reach. And I also, what's coming is, if you've heard of the Untethered Soul, the book The Untethered Soul, it tells you like this tool and how to, okay, you're not going to be able to slow your thoughts. It's constant. Your mind is a program, computer, but you can be able to step back from it, observe them, and just not attach to them. So it's like, I don't think we can just totally shut our thoughts off, but we could step back and say, I'm just going to let God handle that. I don't have to go with this. And I'm just going to be the observer, the witness, and just watch it and let it go. And I choose to trust, to have faith, to be in the flow, right? You see the difference of like trying to control your thoughts versus, it's okay, I see you. I'm just going to choose this.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And as you're as you're saying that, like I thought of, okay, how can we teach this to our kids? And then the next thought was, well, they actually come bearing with the wisdom, because my belief is they come in with like kind of like a backpack of books of knowledge spiritually that they know, that the universe knows we need on earth right now. So if we just let them be and shine and create safe spaces for them, and yes, there's things that will teach them and help them, but if we let them shine, like they're just going to naturally teach us those things too, and being open to our kids teaching. So I got little baby Archer here, and being aware of like the gifts and wisdom he has that I still have not even discovered yet is so exciting, and so much more versus like, yes, he's this child I will mold into myself. Like that's, I honor when people have had that experience of like wanting to mold their child, but it has never resonated for me. And like my parents, again, shout out to them, like they really let me shine and taught me a lot, but now are also open to me offering things to them, and will always happen, but now that I'm an adult, so just letting your child shine is so key to be able to teach them these skills that we're talking about of like, do you feel off? Like with our kids just now, my husband was like, yeah, let's get them out of the house because they're out of school. So him like taking them out into nature, letting them take their shoes off in the mud, and like being connected. I know for me that helps when I feel off, and for our kids, especially our young leaders, as I like to call them. So that's where I want to like pivot next. And Amanda knows, being a parent of now an adult, which I'm sure is crazy for you, because what, isn't she 18 now?
Mm-hmm.
Which is amazing. Congrats to you. But really, they'll always be our kids. For those that are parents, feel free to comment on this. But even if you're not a parent, what are things that like you feel that those things that we maybe are commenting that help us when we feel off, that are like the top two or three things that we need to impart to our young people? I already said some of mine, which is being in nature, and balance. Like we still let them get on technology, but we're like, okay, it's been an hour. Let's put tablets away. Let's go outside. Let's just play with normal toys. What do you think about that, Amanda?
I think one of the most powerful things that you could do as a parent, from a young age, is letting them have decisions, giving them choices, and letting them choose. Like, okay, do you want to wear this or this? And like, you can guide them in a way, like, keeping your room clean, having chores and things like that. I believe discipline is love. I really do. In that way, like, you need to have responsibilities and learn to cook. I taught my daughter to cook and garden since like 2 years old, and colors and art and all these different things, right? So, but you have to give them choices. Like, you have to learn to make decisions. And one thing I'm really learning, and I think it's a powerful thing, is like nothing is really in your control except for the way you respond to things and the way you react. Like, there's one, especially once they get older, you are not in control. They're going to do whatever they want at the end of the day. And you just have to make sure that you gave them the proper tools to make those decisions. And one thing that's really coming strongly is, and I think this is with the whole world, we might think that we know what's best for people, but that's in a way playing God. And everybody has their own soul guiding them. And for me to impose what my soul is telling me on my daughter or on anybody is a form of control. And you have to trust God and your soul enough to say, you know what, their soul's got them. This is their journey and they're safe. And the only way you can have any sort of control is just holding them in that golden light and seeing them happy and having a good life. And other than that, like, you can give them some guidance, but at the end of the day, they're going to see you the way they want to see you, and you've got to let go.
Gosh, that is right there. I mean, that can apply to anything, but specifically with young people. I mean, it's so cute right now with my 3.5, 6.5, and now 3.5 month old. Um, to like have them with me, and basically, I'm kind of curating most of their experiences, but at the same time, they're having a lot of their own, and letting them have independence. Lately has been so fun. Like being at the coffee shop seems like a safe place. I'll be like, how's that? Like she'll be like, I need to go potty. I'm like, do you feel like you can go on your own? Because she's been like doing all the things properly. I'll still ask her when she gets back if she washed her hands, but um, it's so empowering for her. Or she'll go up to the counter. She did this recently, and we were sharing a little treat. And I was like, "Can you go ask for some forks and butter knives?" And she did it, and she felt so empowered going up and asking, even though they were like at the place where anyone could get them. But it was a little high for her, so I had to go ask the front. And I even saw a video of someone giving the kid money and having them go order the Chick-fil-A or wherever they were eating, and had him like, he was a little older, so he had like a list of things to read off. And then as they get older, of course, like your young leader is now 18, like learning to let go is actually powerful, knowing that they may make what you perceive as mistakes, but just that. And I think that kind of comes back full circle to what you just said what you had said at the beginning about ACEs, or traumatic events in people's childhoods or teenhoods, of like some of that was rooted in whoever was taking care of them or not taking care of them, not having wellness in themselves and control, instead of, okay, creating safe space and letting them explore. So it kind of comes full circle of like how conscious parenting and conscious conversation go really together. And what I want to say when I say conscious parenting, it doesn't mean that you're perfect. In fact, you embrace that you're imperfect. Like my kids have seen me cry a lot, and then they're able to come over to me, and I'm able to allow them to comfort me. And I'm able to be like, yeah, I'm just feeling, pretty much most of the time to see me cry. Have been one time when I was feeling overwhelmed, just like overwhelmed with things. And then the other times have been when I was feeling grief coming up about Leo's first dad. And I'm able to just tell them, like, Zelda was able to come up to me and comfort me. And I've taught her some energy healing modalities. So she was saying the names of some of the symbols and singing them to me and comforting me. And I was able to teach her that I can receive from her. And I've felt closer to her ever since that day, because I'm not just like the superhero mom. She's able to um, give to me. And I think that's so important. So those are some of my thoughts on like what we need to teach kids with self-care. If you're listening, I'd love to see your comments below on the question on the screen. What are things that you um, have done? I know you shared some already, Amanda, with your daughter, any other young people you're involved in.
Like, what have I taught her?
Yeah, what have you, and maybe like techniques that have worked and not worked, because it all connects to mental health. And ideally, um, being able to have our young people choose life, to be able to get to adulthood, because right now, um, childhood, it's sad to say, but also teenhood, suicide is very high. And so I think this is an important thing to talk about in this month of suicide prevention month, with what we can do.
Well, I what's coming up really is like some my daughter, like the way I was raised, like kind of my grandma raised me, and they're very cold and kind of distant. But the when I got attention, it was dinner time, and it was like, okay, here's some food. This is how I love you. And so that's kind of like what I had learned is like, let me make you a nice dinner, and that's the way I show my love. But sometimes like you get overweight. And so my daughter was a little chunky when she was growing up, and she was kind of bullied around 8 years old. But I was able to. I had known Tiana, who works with kids, who you introduced me to, and I took her over there, and she. I mean, it was all her choice. I was like, okay, here's this woman. She might be able to help you about how you're feeling. And then she talked to her, and the first meeting was like, okay, hi, how are you? Introduced herself, and they got to know each other. And Tiana's like, would you like to come back and see me again? And it was my daughter's choice ultimately. I never made her do anything. I never imposed like religion or anything. And I mean, I question that because I was raised Christian, like it was forced on me. And so when she was growing up, I had always given her all the different perspectives, but I ultimately allowed her to choose what she believed. And I still do that to this day. But I give her, okay, here's what we know about this, but ultimately you are going to find your own path, and I encourage you to do what's best for you always. And so, but yeah, she worked with Tiana, and she met her spirit animals, and she was never bullied again. And she's still kind of like, now she's older. Um, I believe the things I taught her, so at children, the most important ages are 3 and 4 years old. Your brain is like a sponge. Most of the things, most of the neurons you build for your entire life are built, they say, during ages 3 and 4. And I had miraculously known that at that age. And so, even though I was 20 years old having a baby and nobody was there to help me, I still have always been intuitive. So I let her help me cook. I showed her about cooking. I taught her about vegetables. We had planted gardens. We had played with art, gone into nature. All of those normal life skills in my mind were instilled at a young age, and I think it just gave her um, a good view of what life could be. And I also was very intentional on taking her different places outside of this community. I wanted her to see different cities and states and know that there's more than this that you see right here. There's so much, there's such a big world out there. So it's a mix of things, really, but I wanted her to have culture and education around just a whole view on life. And um, since she was 8 years old, I taught her, hurt people. And if somebody's angry or something's happening, it's never to do with you. It's always something deeper. And if you can step back and say, this is nothing to do with me, that's a powerful place to be for everybody. Like, you don't know what somebody has been through, the day they're having, or, like, and you don't need to know, but you need to know that it's not you, and it's not something for you to take on. And so, growing up, she would come to me and say, like, oh, this person is angry or whatever. I'm like, well, what do you think their life at home is like? And she would tell me it's terrible. So I'm like, well, that's why. And I've always encouraged her, like, to realize that and keep it in the back of her mind, and just to be kind to people. And it's just amazing how she's both IQ and EQ. And I mean, her frontal lobe's still developing, but I mean, she's an artist, but she's, gifted and talented, over 4.1 grade point average, and plays like 5 or 6 instruments, and works, and has always kept her room clean, and to the point where she's annoyed with me because I'm a little bit more messy. I'm more artistic brained. So, like, things are chaotic, but I'm an artist, so I'm constantly creating stuff. And so, like, she would be like, like, you can't fall asleep on the couch. You need to get up and go brush your teeth and wash your face and go to bed. Like, kind of like my parent. And it was just a weird thing to see, like, from a young age. And so, but yeah, now.
Do you think, in the perspective of parallel lives, that she could have been your mom in another life?
My grandma actually said when she was a baby that the look in her eye reminded her of her mother. So I think she was my great grandma.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It doesn't. Yeah, I could jump generations. That's
and
cool. I just thought it was called to ask that.
Yeah, so I have green eyes, and her dad has brown eyes, and Addie has blue eyes. So, which is the color of my great grandma's eyes.
Wow.
So it's weird, like, yeah, it's a recessive gene, obviously, but still, it's crazy to see, like, yeah. And she's not overweight. She's super healthy, and she's very conscious. Like, she doesn't want to use the microwave. She doesn't want to, and I didn't teach any of this stuff. Like, it's so weird. A lot of the stuff I was learning in high school, like, I don't know if you know who Elliott Smith is, but I actually named her after a song from Elliott Smith, who's kind of like an underground artist. And I never really told her, but she listens to Elliott Smith now. And, like,
wow.
yeah, and so she's, like, all into records and, like, underground music, and just, like, PC, and, like, mom, you can't say that, and, like, we just love everybody, and kind of, like, and it's really crazy to see, because I didn't force her to believe that. Like, she actually hated yoga and crystals because I loved it so much. She's like, I don't want to be like you. But now she's being an artist, and now she's finding music, and so, but she's got to find her own path. And of course, I worry. I want her to be everything she wants to be, and so.
Well, I love that you shared everything that you did to teach resiliency and self-care to your young adult now, and how she's also been able to help you. But something you said just struck, so I put it up on the screen just now. Hurt people. So just, I didn't most of this conversation isn't planned. Like I had nothing right now. I just have been guided of like, okay, let's put this up on the screen. So this one I've been putting up. This one I just put up. Hurt people, hurt people. That is such a helpful phrase. And I want to say on kind of the devil's advocate side, that phrase can sometimes have you be overly appeasing or towards someone
Yeah.
who's mistreating you. So I wanted to share quickly on, not quickly, just share about my experience with that phrase, because I've heard this phrase. I think I heard it when I was really young in elementary school, because probably similar to your daughter, I always felt this calling to just be kind to people because you didn't know what people are going through, and always did my best to be a friend to all, which I'm glad I was. And so I carried that phrase with me. And so in my first marriage, pretty early on, I mean, even before when we were just dating, it was clear to me that, you know, he had a lot of trauma from his past and that he had trouble keeping a temper. He would throw things or get angry, and it started that way. And it just, you know, slowly escalated to like slamming doors, throwing things, and you know, throwing things at me or getting angry or getting in my face, to then being physical with me and all this stuff that I could, you know, overhash. I don't want to focus on that. I want to just focus more on my internal processes with that. So even when I was being mistreated, sometimes that was my justification, right? Of like, oh, well, hurt people, hurt people. And I can
Mm.
forgive it. And we would forgive over and over again, and did a lot of personal development work together, which is how we actually met through this thing called the Landmark Forum. Um, and I'm so grateful for that, because despite there was so much that was really, really hard in that relationship, what made it beautiful and bearable, of course, uh, having our son too, which was a conscious choice, was just being able to reflect together and come back to forgiveness and use the tools we had for self personal development. I'm grateful we had that, so it wasn't fully unconscious. But at the same time, coming back to the darker side of this phrase of misusing it, of like, oh, hurt people. But finally, you know, like I said, I misused it for a long time, keeping the abuse hidden away for a while. And then finally, when I came clean about it to my family, when my son was just 6 months old, I was able to still say the phrase again of like, hurt people. And I don't have to like be okay with it being like continually impacting my life, especially now that my son
Yeah, I
was
agree.
motivated me, and I was like, you know what, I need to get my son, you know, into a home where he's, you know, able to not be around these loud outbursts, and which had lessened at that point when he was born. But and it started, that's when it actually started to shift. And I've seen this in a lot of different dads, where sometimes when that baby is born, it like brings something up for that person who's been dealing with stuff from their childhood when they now have a kid. So it almost shifted more to depression at that point versus like constant anger. And that's much more I could say with that. I noticed that in him, and that's basically the next year and a half was him just struggling with pretty deep depression until he chose to end his life. And so, but this phrase helped me still. Like I know it was meant to be that I stayed in the relationship as long as I did, so that way our son could be born. I always believe everything happens the way it needed to. And now using this phrase, hurt people, still helps me to this day. Like when someone at the department store recently, there's um, uh, Dillard's here, and this lady, I asked for help, and she like was giving me help while walking away, and was like said it very angrily, and she told me where to go. And first my like inner like customer service person was like, geez,
Hmm.
she is not good at customer service. But then I was like, oh, she's probably just like not having a good day. Like I could tell she does not want to be here. Who knows what she has going on at home? She could be dealing with someone who's abusive to her. So I literally just let it go. She told me where to go, and I found the item I needed. So I was able to just like feel the anger for a moment, but think of it another way: hurt people, and then just let it go. So yeah, I want to dive more into this phrase, and if anyone else has some perspective on this phrase, feel free to comment below. I'll put a little post here. What do you think? You were the one that brought it up, like this phrase. How have you used this phrase throughout hurt people, hurt people?
So I will say that obviously nothing is linear. And so you can look at this linearly and just say, you know, and like write things off, but there's also boundaries and enabling. And I believe, yes, like it's helpful because you can use it to not internalize like what's happening, but at the same time, um, you have to kind of have your boundaries. So like, yeah, what are like so say if it's a long-term relate like I'm more generalizing this statement as like, okay, if you run into somebody who's angry, like don't say, oh, well, that person just sucks. Like maybe like you said, like maybe they're going through something. But then there's like long-term relationships where um that can happen, but you can say like, I don't like this behavior, this makes me feel this way, and have that conversation. And if they still continue to do it, that's when boundaries are needed. And like that's when you there's a fine line between enabling the behavior and stopping it. And I believe that when you've communicated that it's hurting and it continues to happen, it is okay, and it's a loving, very responsible thing to do, to tell them, I just don't want this for me, and I believe you can heal or whatever, but right now this isn't good for me, and so I'm going to step back. And you can totally take yourself away from it. You can still say hurt people, and not say this is because of me and I'm not worthy, and internalizing it, and letting it ruin your life and your day. And but I believe that that act of putting that boundary up and not letting people allow them to treat you like that continuously, that shows them and teaches them. And you know what? Maybe they go off on the deep end, but maybe it's what wakes them up. And so, if we are all honest and real, and yeah, it's hard because you might lose somebody you love. They might, have to break up with your boyfriend, and it really sucks. But hey, that's the start to self love. And boundaries are so important. You have to know yours.
Gosh, yeah, that's very similar to me, where it's like, have that phrase help you come to neutrality, but then still make the choice that's going to be best for you and who you are, and keeping you safe, especially if that's what is being related. I wanted to take another peaceful pause as my kids have this little thing that reads them stories, and they call it a peaceful pause, which I really like. And my kids have started to use it. I call it sacred pause in my lead flow session. So we're going to do another little breath break with the same exact 2-minute video. Again, this is called box breathing, and this will be something that we do as a part of conscious conversation every time. The reason being is it's 2 minutes, and it's something I always want to offer really practical things. And so this is a box technique where you breathe, hold, breathe out, and hold before breathing again. And you can look at the box with your open eyes if you like. So you're breathing in for 4 seconds, hold, breathing out. Oh, not sharing the screen. Let's add that. Let's actually start over again so we get that peripheral attention. So we're breathing in for 4 seconds, breathing out, holding, breathing out, holding, before in again, breathe in, hold the breath in your lungs, breathe out slowly, keep going on our own pace. I'm going to actually start the video one more time in a moment. Continue your breath in, hold the breath in your lungs, breathe out. This is helping oxygenate our whole body, our brain, reset. One more time as a peaceful conversation. more time. This is a big one chain health. Alright, we're going to do a few more rounds of box breathing. Because I'm called to just integrate all the conversation so far before we have a little bit more time. So with this breathing, breathe out 4 seconds, holding, breathing. All right. I feel much better after that breathing. Go ahead and close that. All right. Well, that was great breathing. We still have 20 more minutes of conscious conversation. If you want to join on video or with voice, then you can actually go ahead and click the link that I'm going to put up on the main screen. I'll put it on the ticker going across the bottom of the screen as well. It's kind of a long link. I can also message it to you. I'm going to put it back into the comments. I see some comments of people, so I want to catch up with our conscious conversation so far. And Amanda, feel free to join back on another way if you want to. I see that you had to hop off for a bit. Catherine Connor says, what really helps her when she's feeling off? What helps me when I'm feeling off? Quiet or guided meditation, reminding myself that I'm never alone. I love that. but always completely and constantly supplied and supported by divine source, remembering that this too shall pass. That is such a powerful phrase. Sitting in sunshine, taking a walk someplace beautiful like the Pueblo River Walk, making a written list of my blessings, practicing gratitude, practicing positive affirmations, consulting spirit through one of my oracle decks, journaling, reading from one of my many spiritual, which for some reason I'm not able to see all of the comments, so there must be more on Facebook. I can actually look it up. I love everything that she is saying here because some of them are practices I have as well. But she's really letting her, her personal beliefs shine, which align with a lot of mine. But even if you're not in the same belief system of spirit, divine source, you can always go take a walk. You can always, go find peace in the sunshine, or being able to find a place outside, even if it is just right outside your front door, and just sitting and getting fresh air. So I really love what everyone has shared. And Amanda, thank you so much for the great conversation too. She said thanks and I'm excited to go conquer your day. Yay! I'm glad that you got to come and engage in conscious conversation and come on video. If anyone does want to come on video, you can still come for the last 20 minutes here on voice or video. Archer here is joining in conscious conversation. He is almost 4 months. He's getting huge. And I love it because he has been talking. So I'll just, while I wait for people to either join on voice or video, I'll just share a bit about my experience of being in mom of a not newborn anymore. I guess he is just a plain baby. I'm not saying newborn anymore. But yeah, I will do this thing that I learned about from someone online about mirroring the sounds that he says, and then also just talking to him normal. And it's so cool because he'll like say things and I'll get it sometimes, and he'll like go like, he's like, yes, she understands. So that's been really, really fun, and I wanted to include him today. So some of the things I've been asking that you guys can engage with is, what do you do when you feel off? What helps you? Comment below. A lot of people shared some really cool things already today, like what helps them when they feel off. Yeah, he says when he feels off, he drinks milk and does baby yoga. And also when other people joined on, I think one of the comments I wanted to read got cut off. I'm able to read it here. Kat said earlier when she feels off, what she does is, I'm going to read the comment here, but it got cut off. She consults her oracle decks, journaling, reading from one of her many spiritual self-help books, talking with a close, caring friend. Talking with a close, caring friend is such a good advice to do for anyone to do. I really love that. And then I see that other people commented that basically they also go out and go into nature, hiking, creating something, connecting with others, being active. There's been some really great things shared on this conversation, this thread so far. I know for me, I've been sharing recently online, just getting out and walking for 5 to 10 minutes. Sometimes that's the most realistic. This morning, I went on a walk run without the baby before he woke up. Before I ate, I said, hey, I'm going to go across the street because we have this cool little pond across the street. I'm going to go run and just going to go walk, run. And then yesterday I took him with me in the stroller, which was actually really fun because it was cool to have him with me. It had music, and it was literally 5 to 15 minutes max. And just starting my day that way the last many days has been so key, and I'm going to continue to do that as long as the weather allows. I mean, even in the winter, I might want to keep doing it as long as it's walkable, because getting outside and breathing fresh air, not recirculated air, has felt so good for my body. And so that's one of the ways that I really like to connect And I actually see a comment here, and I am not aware of what the comment is referring to because I'm actually not aware of the news. So if you want to expand more, Nanette, who's my mom, more on what happened, I actually am not aware. So if that is unbelievable that I'm not aware, maybe just I haven't seen any headlines yet because I have not always tuned in. So in general, though, because I'm sensing that it's something intense, I feel when we have conscious conversation about anything that happens, that brings so much light and love to it. I think when coming up for me, because I was a young girl when it happened on September 11th, 2001, having conscious conversation about that still today is very healing for me because I'm still like unpacking, what really happened that day. I no longer say the attacks. I just say the events for particular reasons. And I love having conversation and conscious conversation about intense events because it allows me to, just explore different perspectives and conversations. Okay, yeah, thank you for letting me know because I didn't know what happened. So thank you for telling me. So yeah, I'd love to have conscious conversation about this, and you can feel free to put your comments and thoughts in the chat, and I will put it up on the screen. I'm not aware of this, so I'm going to have maybe a more neutral or naive perspective on this. But I was just informed that there was a school shooting at a Catholic school in Minnesota very recently, and I know that this has actually been a conversation lately with different stuff being trying to push forward with mental health. With how can we start to bring awareness to why these events happen? Obviously, there are questions that come into play of like, what are the sources of these events? Is it really what we're being told on the news? That's a whole conversation in itself. But assuming these events are always true, I think bringing the concept of mental health, which is our topic today, is so important because we have to think and reverse engineer, like Amanda said earlier, with these adverse childhood events, like what happened in that person's life to bring them to this event. And how we can research Nanette saying, how can we research it without polarity, like without any bias? And that's hard because sometimes what we find online is inherently biased. We can't know because we weren't a fly on the wall in the room. And I think having that truth in our pocket saying we don't truly know, so knowing that and not taking sides and just saying basically on the side of, having people feel safe and in school. So I think that, there's much more we could say. I think it'd be easier for us to talk about it if if you were on video too. I did send you that link if you want to join. But yeah, I think ultimately just bringing intention and awareness and prayer. I believe the power of prayer is the biggest thing that we can do. And ultimately, like Amanda and I discussed, doing our best to teach our young leaders, like this one low here, just doing our best to teach them everything that we can, and being able to know that that's sometimes the best thing that we can do. We can't go back and make events not happen. We can't necessarily heal the people's grief going through the loss through different events like these shootings you're talking about, but we can do our best to have love and safety presence in our family. Also, like interesting, yeah. I think this is an important topic to talk about with neutrality. I think there's a lot of charged energy behind this, and for me, I'm able to, see that there's choices that people make. So I think that there was putting up on the screen here that someone had a diary noting their feelings before the shooting, and that they may have been a transgender shooter. So I think that having these discussions from like an open perspective is really important. So if you want to share more of your insights, Nanette, then feel free to put your comments on the screen. I think it is something to know of like, I don't know if this person was taking different hormones or anything, but those do change our brain. Like we know that hormones change our brain. So I think that's something to be aware of as sometimes these changes are pushed onto young people, that we just be aware of them from a neutral perspective of that, like mental health is already such a challenge at that age. So if we flood different chemicals or hormones into the bodies, then that. But the thing is, unfortunately, shootings did happen before that. The different types of changes to our bodies were as quote unquote popular. So those things are just inherent in the human challenges that we face. Of like, if people don't have love present in their life, they're going to sometimes find an outlet through violence. And I think especially as we look at how we can create a world with less of these traumas and these shootings, or none, ideally, ultimately it's how can we create safer spaces for young people. So as we come to the end here, I just want to reflect on some of the amazing perspectives brought up in this chat. So we talked about, with Amanda, we talked about suicide. We talked about wellness. We had Catalina and Nanette and others joining here. And then we had Joe, Drake, and Catherine share some of their perspectives of how they find balance when they feel off. And I shared a bit about my story. So we'll continue to do this every first Monday from 9 a.m. Mountain Time to 11 a.m. Mountain Time. And it is our opportunity to come together in a chill space. I'll always have some perspectives and some ideas I want to bring, but I'm always going to, hear out and hear what other people are bringing to the table. Yeah. And Archer sharing his conscious conversation too, as he's talking more now. Oh, he just sat up. So I am appreciative for everyone being here today. We're going to go ahead and bring in the breath work again. And with this breath work, we're able to bring in the box breathing technique. And there's so many other techniques out there. I like to do the Wim Hof breathing technique, and there's a lot of other, but those are all kind of long-winded. Whereas with the box breathing technique, we're able to keep it really simple. And so with box breathing, which I'm pulling up on the screen now, you visualize a box. So I'm going to go ahead and play that now. You visualize the box as you breathe in and out. you next month, October 6th. Keep breathing this last round before we close. All right, everyone. We will see you next month, October 6th, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Mountain Time. We'll be on the same platform you were watching before, but also, if you weren't aware, we're also not only on various pages on Facebook, but my LinkedIn and a couple different YouTube pages that I run. So we'll see you all next month, and we'll be talking about the shadow and whatever comes up around us for that. Much love and peace to you all, and I'll bring you guys out to end the hour with some music.